Camera rolling. And hold on, camera set. And action.
Hi, my name is Melissa. I'm a first year student at St. Catherine's University doing occupational therapy, and this is my presentation for the craft activity project. For my craft, I chose cross stitch, and the reasons that I chose it are that I like the finished product. It's pretty cheap, the materials are cheap, and you can take it with you anywhere that you go. Cross stitch is one of the oldest forms of embroidery, and it can be found in lots of cultural centers throughout Europe, mainly used to adorn household items like napkins and tablecloths. It's the easiest form of embroidery. It really just takes the one stitch, which is a cross stitch, and you just put these stitches all together to make a design. So for me, I was lucky enough to have a friend show me how to do the cross stitch, and it was interesting because it became a very social activity in that sense, and we were all kind of sitting together at the table, gossiping and learning this new craft. So that gave it some social meaning, but it's definitely an activity that you can do by yourself. The cross stitch, to me, it's kind of reminiscent of my 70s childhood and this sort of memory of being surrounded by homemade things and lots of arts and crafts, and maybe there was even cross stitch in my bedroom, who knows. Anyway, so some of the challenges with the cross stitch of actually doing it was knots. There was constantly, if you don't pay attention, these very fine threads get knotted up, and it takes a lot of like very specific poking around to get rid of that knot. So you have to be pretty careful, and that was definitely one of the challenges. You have to focus. And the other challenge was if you were not paying attention, your design starts to go out of whack because you didn't count the right number of stitches or you didn't change color correctly. This activity would be most ideal for somebody who has the full use of their upper body and can hold themselves up, and that they possess good process and motor skills. So the types of therapeutic use would be ideal for someone on some sort of bed rest, recovering from injury or illness where the upper part of their body wasn't affected, and they had enough processing skills to be able to focus and follow the directions of the pattern. It's a very calming and relaxing activity, so you can kind of get lost in it. So if someone who really has a long hospital stay, it could be a nice project to work on whilst you're recovering. It can also be used for people with attention problems, and you can basically increase their attention by starting off with like just small goals of the design and increasing that like throughout the treatment. And it could also be used to help with certain like developmental issues, because there's a lot of sorting of colors and a lot of counting of the squares in the design. So it could be used in that kind of training. It could also be adapted in several ways. The materials used come in different sizes. So I use pretty small materials, but you can get bigger needles, bigger cloths, bigger designs. And so for those people who have grasping problems or visual problems, it could be adapted. A magnifying glass could be used to help, figure out where to do the stitching. And the use of a clamp could help somebody who only has the use of one side of their body, and they couldn't hold the work, although they would need help from somebody else to do the threading of the needle. Okay, so let me show you the equipment that's required. It's pretty simple. You need embroidery cloth, which comes in different sizes, it comes in a roll. I've hardly got any left, but this is basically what it looks like. And then it's helpful to have an embroidery hoop, so it keeps the fabric at the right tension, and it's also just easy to hold, so it's not flim-flamming all over the place. Then you need a needle, and you need to check that you have the right needle for the right size cloth, and I just learned this last week. And you just then you need thread, and I have a lot. So you definitely don't need that much thread, because as it turns out, you take the thread, and for the size of the cross stitch that I was doing, you don't even use the entire thickness. You actually pull apart the yarn, and for my particular project, it was like a 2-piece threading. So you end up, like, one of these would last a very long time. Then you thread. And then the last thing you need is a pattern. Now I downloaded mine off of Etsy, and it tells you the design, what size fabric you need, what kind of stitches. It's like nicely color coded with where everything goes. And then this is basically the map that you follow, and the design shows you where the center is, and then what you need to do is also fold the fabric so that you find its center and mark it somehow. And when you go to start, you want to start at the center of the fabric. Let's just say, for example, it's here, and that way you always, you know where you are, and you know that you have enough space to do the project. So I really enjoyed this project. I found it kind of addictive, and I didn't want to do a lot of my other homework. And I will show you my finished product, which I'm pretty proud of, and I intend to make more. And here it is. Thank you for watching my presentation.
And fade to black, cut.